My name is Logan Sennett. I'm a sales and marketing representative for Power Guru Solar Electric, and we're joined by the owner and founder of Power Guru, being Anita. And folks, just wanted to thank you folks for coming here tonight. This means a lot to us. We're really excited about this upcoming project, and we look forward to you folks participating in it.
And Nathan here as well.
Yep, Nathan, our operations manager.
Managing the controls.
So for those folks that don't know about Power Guru, we were founded in 2008. We're locally owned, independently operated. Our home base is at the Left Bank in North Bennington, Vermont. We're certified to install in the state of Vermont, the state of New York, and also Massachusetts. We have just over 200 installations as of yet in those three states, and looking forward to adding more. We're also one of 4 certified Tesla Powerwall solar installers in the state of Vermont. So we're able to install home battery backup systems that are coupled with solar installations for complete backup. So that's an exciting opportunity and something that we're looking forward to. This is just some examples of some of our work. Some may look familiar, but we're really excited about moving forward in this great industry. So just wanted to go in a little bit on electricity and greenhouse gas emissions. I think all of us are somewhat aware that global climate change is occurring, and the CO2 or green gas emissions that are in the atmosphere have exceeded pretty much anyone's expectation. You can see by this graph here the rise and fall, and these actually coincide with various ice ages throughout the world's history, if you will. In 1950, in that corner there was an exponential spike due to industrialization and the use of petroleum and gases for most of our fuel source. Over here on the right side, I think, is a pretty interesting pie chart as well. This divides greenhouse gas emissions by the economic sector, and in the blue there, accounting for 27% of that greenhouse gas emission, is the generation of electricity, whether it be coal burning, fossil fuels, and things of that nature. So that is a large sector of the economy that contributes to these greenhouse gases. Down here on the bottom, Vermont has taken a strong stance on mitigating its carbon footprint. They've set a goal to be 100% renewable by 2030 as far as electricity generation. As of 2017, the state of Vermont is at about 97%. So we're certainly making a strong effort and leading an example on the state level. The bottom bullet point there, 800 megawatts, that refers to the electricity generation that's required here in southern Vermont alone, which is a tremendous amount of electricity considering the population density. You know, you look at areas like Burlington and the more developed areas up north, that number is much, much higher, so we all have quite a bit of work to do, but I think that 100% renewable energy by 2030 is certainly attainable at the pace we're on. What is a solar module? This is kind of a common question that I think has a really simple answer. Everybody knows what an LED light bulb is, I assume, and when you flip your light switch, like we did to dim the lights here, electricity or electrons pass through a silicone material in the bulb to produce photons or light. Solar modules work the same way, similar way I should say, but in the reverse order. So when electrons or electricity or sunlight is gathered by solar modules, they pass them through a silicone material to produce photons. Electrons. So electrons to photons with the light bulb, photons to electrons with the solar module. This is just a brief slide depicting kind of how solar works. How are you, sir?
Good, how
Welcome.
you doing?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. You folks are, no, you're not very far into it. You're actually right into the meat of it. This is a good thing. So moving back to this slide here, very simply how solar works on a residential level. Obviously the solar panels that are either mounted on your roof or on a ground mounted system convert sunlight into electricity. Step 2, that electricity which is produced by the solar modules is DC current. Well, all of our outlets that we use in our home are AC current. So they pass through a device called a inverter, and that essentially converts that DC power from the solar modules to AC power that then can be used in your home. That electricity that's generated then goes on to the grid. For everyone here in southern Vermont, for the most part, Green Mountain Power is our utility, and they manage that electricity on what's called their grid. The technology of solar modules in step 4 have developed in such a way that we can now monitor production versus consumption using a smartphone, a computer, so you can look at a play-by-play of how much electricity or kilowatt hours you're generating from your solar system. So it's a lot of fun. We've actually had some classes, some schools that have tried to predict various solar projections throughout the year using these various apps. So it's a really nice implementation of technology into the sector. And then again here, step 5, a battery backup or a home storage system. That, in my opinion, is kind of the final piece of the puzzle regarding solar. Prior to the implementation of batteries or storage, it didn't matter how much solar power or solar modules you had on your roof or in your landscape. If the grid went down, you would still be out of power because there's a disconnect between the solar and the grid. But now, the Tesla batteries act as a bridge. So when the power goes out in your neighborhood, your battery would kick in, providing you with electricity, and your solar modules would continually charge that battery to help keep your lights on in case of a power outage. So those are the basic steps, if you will, of how solar works, and just wanted to kind of put that out there for some people that are unaware, or those that it's a little redundant. For my apologies if so.
So Hogan, you missed number 3.
Well, step 3 is when the electricity that's generated is what goes onto the grid. And there's a process in the state of Vermont called net metering. So they're able to monitor your production versus your consumption, and they net out those differences, if you will. So that's how you can have an electric bill of 0, essentially. If you're producing more than you're consuming, you can net that out to 0.
And that will happen with the community solar.
That's right, that's the intention. We can go down the road a little bit further, but I think it would be advantageous for people to potentially focus on completely eliminating their electric bill. There's no intention or requirement if you wanted to offset 50% of your electric bill, 25% of your electric bill. That's certainly attainable through a community solar project. But it may be best financially and your return on investment to offset the entirety of your electric bill. So this is a common question that is raised, especially here in the state of Vermont. There are a number of factors that limit people to install solar on their residence. One of which is the material that the roof is actually comprised of. For the most part, asphalt shingles, standing seam metal roofs, any type of corrugated metal roofs, solar installations can be put on those. Really a no-go for solar installers is slate. It's just too difficult of a material to work with, and has a potential to break as well during the installation process. Here in the Green Mountain State, obviously shade is a big killer of solar in the state of Vermont. We certainly have a lot of trees that surround our house and keep our houses cool in the summer, but they have a detrimental effect on solar module production if those modules or those panels are shaded. Roof orientation as well. Ideally, a south-facing roof will give you the best exposure throughout the year. We can accommodate east-west pitches to help offset your electrical demand or capture that arc of the sun as it passes through, but ideally a south-facing roof is required for your best solar production. Also, size of roof is another issue that we have when it comes to installing at somebody's residence. Often they don't have enough roof space or appropriate roof space to offset their electrical demand just by square inches, if you will. To give you a little perspective, a solar module or a solar panel is roughly 5.5 feet long by 4.5 feet wide. So they do still take up quite a bit of space. Hopefully in the future they will start to shrink. But right now, the industry across the board is those are pretty much the dimensions of your solar module. So how community solar works? This is a great question, and one that we hope we answered a little bit here in the bullet points. But essentially, a community solar project is like a solar farm. There is a large array that is purchased by shareholders, and then the energy that's generated by the array is allocated or distributed to each shareholder accordingly. No, not a problem. If there's any questions too while I'm going along, please don't hesitate to reach out and stop me. So regarding the solar farm, essentially an LLC is built, and each member comprises that LLC. And with this particular solar project, Power Guru will manage the operations, the maintenance, the service, all of those necessities to help operate a solar farm, if you will. So the power is fed into the electrical grid, and then it's allocated accordingly to each shareholder through their utility bill. So what's really exciting about the potential of this project is that we can service anybody on Green Mountain Power's territory. Although we're generating electricity here in Bennington, we can service Brattleboro, we can service Rutland, we can service Burlington. It's a really neat concept that a implementation called group net metering allows us to do. We've also designed the community solar project in a way that guarantees a return on investment no greater than 10 years, no matter what your system size is or your share size. It's a bit of economy of scale, but we've been able to bring that to the forefront, which we're really excited about. Often, depending on how long or how large of a system you need at your residence, you may not see payback periods of 13, 14 years. So we're really excited to be able to bring a 10-year payback for anyone that may be interested in participating in this project. And for commercial or businesses, that payback period gets even better based on various state and tax implications and depreciation and benefits. So as I kind of alluded here, there is a 26% federal tax credit that's available to all participants in this community solar project, and that gets even better for the commercial sector. We work very closely with the Vermont State Educational Credit Union. They've got a wonderful loan towards renewable energy or any type of home improvement. It's called the ITC loan there. There are other lenders and financing organizations that help residential and commercial businesses move towards a greener, more sustainable planet. That's just a local one that we work very closely with. One exciting thing on the bottom here, it might be hard to see for some of you folks, but there aren't going to be any annual costs associated with this community solar project. Often with other projects, there are annual costs that are aside from your initial investment, but we've structured this in a way that you'll be able to pay one time, one fee, and not have to worry about any additional costs as far as property taxes or anything of that nature. And we'll outline those a little bit more in the future. Actually, this future slide right here. So as you can see here, we've broken down the annual expenses and then the capital costs. And we've been able to total that cost to $3.75 per watt across the board. So essentially that is the rate that we would base your share size off of to get your overall cost. Keep in mind that these lifetime annual expenses is over 25 years because this project will be warranted through product warranty for 25 years. So it's we're really excited to be able to get that $3.75 a watt out to the community with a great return.
If you folks have any questions on that one, that's probably the one that's the most critical for you. You go back up a bit. So when we did South Shore Community Solar a couple of years ago, that was at $3.25 a watt. And when we created the LLC, the members had to work together to pay the annual expenses towards property taxes, insurance, and so forth. So rather than do that, we said, why not have a manager-managed LLC? So there's two types. You can either have a members manager, you can have managers, right? So what we do is, the $3 a watt goes towards the actual construction, right? And we would allocate 75 cents a watt towards paying property taxes, insurance, and so forth for the next 25 years. So that takes the worry of having to collect all that money from all the members out of your hands, as it were. Does that make sense?
Can I ask?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Okay, so I see total 6,570, and then I see another total for lifetime of 164,250.
Yep.
So as far as individuals paying in, what are both of those amounts? in?
Okay, so what we want to do is distinguish, what we did was we put this annual expense part up here
Okay,
just to show you how much each year you'd have to pay to keep the LLC going, to keep the solar project viable. Right, each year our estimate is around $6,600 or so. On a lifetime basis, which I hope and say was 25 years,
That's how you get to that.
so that's
so do
164,000.
you pay each year?
No, you don't.
Oh.
So
We think 75 cents.
when you buy a share, let's say that you bought 1 watt of share, then out of that, $3 of that watt goes towards building the project,
Right.
and 75 cents goes towards lifetime annual property taxes, insurance, and all of that. So we
Okay.
collect $375 from you, we put 75 cents aside into an escrow account. And we'll have a report to you how we are paying monies out of that escrow account, and how the account is doing, what we are paying. So it's all completely transparent, so you know how much is going towards all these entities.
Have you been successful in being able to project, the cost,
It's a good question. I mean, do we know how the costs are going to scale over time?
Right.
Well, part of it is, you have an idea what the inflation rate is going to be roughly around 2.5% a year or so. But the account will be invested as well. So there's going to be
okay.
some return that will get.
So there'll be a fund that you'll be building
Yes.
off the investment in order
Yeah.
to.
Right.
Okay.
Sure.
So those of us who purchased shares in the other communities, South Shore. Okay, we have our LLC and we get a bill every year for property taxes and other things, right?
Right,
We were
yeah.
talking about the meeting the other night.
Mhm.
So in this situation,
You get none of that.
none of that.
Yeah.
You're not responsible essentially for
Right.
those, because we've
So
captured
it's a
that.
different way of doing it. There's not much difference conceptually, but because this is a much bigger installation that we're doing, it becomes unmanageable to have a bunch of folks meet and collect monies and pay them out. Even with SCS at about 40 members or so, it's getting to that point where you have to reach out and, there's issues with, having to get all the monies collected and disbursed in time. So we figured we'd do it this way. So,
Worst case scenario. You've been in business a long time. I think you're going to be in business for a very long time.
right,
But you guys are the management company
Yeah.
that sees that this gets built and you're managing it.
right,
You go bankrupt. We all have shares into this large field.
right,
There's no other money other than ours that is making this happen.
right,
So there's no bank involved or somebody that would be ahead of you in terms of a bankruptcy payment. We as shareholders would be the first in line if somebody bought the facility and.
Yeah, so you own, actually, let's take a step back. The solar facility is owned by you. You own parts of that facility. Now, this 7% award, this annual annual expense account, that we are managing. If we go out of business, you can have another manager. That's transferable, that's not.
And this
something that goes-
escrow account,
Right.
who's managing the escrow account?
That'll be managed by us as the manager.
And how you get in financial trouble and you start
Yeah.
pulling money from that escrow account,
Yeah.
where do we stand with
Brilliant,
it?
so right here is a ringer in the room.
Yeah.
This is Mr. Lon McClintock, who will be structuring the operating agreement and the lease agreement, and he can talk to you about that.
If
Okay,
he wants, I'm not sure how you're doing this presentation. I'm perfectly happy to get that information before we leave if you want to keep this
No,
I think it's a
presentation.
great
no,
point.
I think this is perfect timing.
Okay.
Actually, all right. So, Solar Guru is gonna wear two separate hats. The first hat is the developer that creates this project and then sells shares to future owners. And once it's all sold out, Solar Guru is no longer involved as the developer. That role has ended. And it begins a new role as a manager working for the LLC. So it's not like an employee, it's like a company you would hire to manage a business. So that allows the owners, in a sense, to be passive owners. They don't have to be engaged in making decisions on a day-to-day basis about what repairs to do and what the budget should be and the like. That sort of structure was set up for South Shire Community Solar. This one, Solar Guru is going to use its expertise to be the manager for you. And so its assets and funds are separate from your assets and funds as the shareholders of an LLC. If you believe the solar array is being mismanaged, you have rights in terms of trying to get Solar Guru on the straight and narrow or to bring in another manager, because it's your array, not Solar Guru, all right? If Solar Guru has problems because it built too many developments, had too much debt, and went out of business, that would not change the fact that you're the owners of this array producing electricity and getting you credits against your electric bills. And you could bring in another group or individual to be your manager. The funds that are paid in at the very beginning do not belong to Solar Guru. They're not part of its assets. They are assets of this LLC that you're going to be members of, and are only.
I'm silent, sorry.
Nuts. And it's going to be a pool of money that can only be used for your array as members of this LLC. Does that make it clear?
Yes.
They're
The only
completely
thing I
separate.
would follow that up on is, because if whoever's managing it, if it's them or another company, they obviously have to do maintenance, they have to buy parts, they have to replace things. And who audits that? Is it up to us as owners to do that if we suspect that things are going into other arrays other than the one that we have shares in? Or,
No,
I'm just
you're-
looking at worst case here.
Okay, so Solar Guru as a manager, I'm gonna mess that name up.
That's gonna be a global replace.
Right.
Power for solar.
Those funds are gonna come out of this pool of money. Now, let's go to your worst case scenario where inflation is back up to 10 or 13% like it was in the early 80s and money is very difficult to borrow. That is one of the risks of being a member of this LLC. If the pool is not large enough to deal with a financial problem like that, then the members themselves could raise money to rebuild that pool of funds that are going to be used to manage it. You know, the hope is that they've planned this out in such a way that they're not going to need to ask the members to contribute additional capital. But worst case scenario, you know, you could be asked to contribute more because the projections were.
I'm just more worried about, I understand the risk with inflation, I'm more worried about, you know, did this particular invoice that came out of the fund of money that's there to maintain this array, did that invoice actually go into our array, or did the equipment, the time, and the labor go in somewhere else?
There's always trust. They could report to you about the state of the fund, how much money has come in through investment, how much money has gone out. But there's always an element of trust did they buy this part and did it go into this array? And, you know, you're gonna have that whether it's the guy working on your furnace, the guy working on your car. You're gonna have to make an assessment if you feel that the reputation of this company is strong enough to make you confident this is a good investment.
But if we asked for an annual report that shows what, has happened, or we could request that, and we could watch those numbers to see if anything, changes over
Right,
time.
and more than
That
a
might
request,
set up a
it would
red
be required. The
Okay.
manager is not allowed to be behind the curtain in managing this asset. There has to be transparency so that the owners understand where they stand financially.
Okay, thank you.
Are they required, like any other kind of investment, let's say a 401k, somebody else is managing it, and you could be a private company? Is there a bond required by them to manage?
I'm not aware of any bond that's going to be required. Every LLC has a document called an operating agreement. So maybe the best way to explain this is that an LLC is like a partnership. It's a group of people who get together to be in a common venture, just like when I was in a partnership with Tom Jacobs. We ran a business together. Well, a limited liability company is a partnership in that way. A corporation's different in that they have shareholders, not partners, okay? So with this limited liability company, instead of having bylaws, you have basically an operating agreement, which is a contract between the owners among themselves and the manager. And so if your operating agreement says that you'll get financial reports no less than quarterly or semi-annually or annually, then whoever is managing it will be required under this operating agreement to provide you with that financial reporting. And that's fairly standard with any limited liability company. So there is that transparency. And you're gonna get a chance to look at your operating agreement to see that these disclosure requirements are there, and your right to obtain information is also spelled out.
I understand that we own shares. Do we own shares proportionate to our investment?
Exactly.
Or do we own shares just individually, like a number of people?
So, yeah, there's a couple, first of all, when we look at how many kilowatts you need, that's your share of ownership, right? So we look at your electric bill, we figure out, okay, you need about 3 kilowatts or so to meet your energy bill. And so, out of the 220 kilowatts, 3 kilowatts is yours. Now, there is a subtle point you just made. How does that translate to the LLC?
Correct.
So that is on a one-to-one basis.
It is.
One, yeah,
Okay.
one
So we all have
share
one
owner, yeah,
shareholder.
everyone has equal shares.
Okay.
Right. In terms of voting.
Even though some of us will probably have a bigger capital investment,
Yeah,
we still only own
Absolutely.
single share. Okay.
I have a general question to understand all this. So are there enough people at present to move forward with this phase? We were told by the people that recommended you to us,
uh-huh,
they own in another phase with you.
yeah.
And so then they said you might be able to get in on the next phase, and we were really excited. So how will we know that there's enough people ready to move forward with this current phase and that
Yeah.
are on board? Like is there enough people, or are there many more people to get? Like how does that
All
work?
going to respond to that.
Yeah, that's, I've been kind of responsible for managing those that are interested in the project, getting share sizes and costs in front of people. We're currently in a little bit of a development stage, or initial stages, if you will. We're still trying to collect enough members of this solar farm to fill it, if you will. But that being said, it could be, for one of the solar installations, it's going to be roughly 200 kilowatts. We could have 2 people that want to participate that need 100 kilowatts each, and that's it, right? Or we could, have the other end of the spectrum of 100 people that need 2 kilowatts each. So it's a little bit of touch and go, if you will, as far as people who are interested, who are committed. Actually, this may be a nice segue into, is everyone comfortable with this, why we do have it up here? This is actually a breakdown here of a residential, hypothetical residential. As you can see in the first bullet point here, that's roughly $175 a month electric bill, and you can see the breakdown. So that would require roughly a share size of 8 kilowatts. Your member cost would be just under $30,000. You are eligible for that 26% federal tax credit, which brings your net cost to the $21,728. Now, after this payback of 10 years, because you're in the 25-year contract or warranty as well with the project, you'll have savings of roughly $36,000 in that next 15 years.
How accurate are you?
I'm sorry?
Should we live so long?
Well,
Speaking of living long, what happens, 25 years, maybe I'll be here, maybe not.
Sure.
But my house, if I'm doing this as a residence,
Great
will pass to our sons.
Yeah.
So, in our will, do we say, hey, guys?
it may be an asset,
So,
certainly.
yeah,
Yeah,
There's
but what
two
happens
things
after
here.
the 25 years? Is that an arbitrary,
I think, so there's a couple, just to jump in here, there's a couple of points here. One is, if you, let's say that you're going along with this LLC, right? And you're getting this wonderful savings with solar accruing into your utility account. And at some point you decided that you want to move. You can sell these shares to other folks in the LLC. There might be other folks who will be buying an electric car, installing heat pumps, getting a nice hot tub in the backyard. So the usage may go up and you can sell your shares. You cannot do that if you had a solar with your home, unless of course you sell the solar with the home. Or you can sell the shares to anybody else in the public. You can sell them to me too, and still in the market to buy some more.
And when
within that 20, I'm sorry.
Yeah, within the 25 years.
Within
No,
that
that's at
25
that
years.
point.
If I
As you
move,
go-
but I can also
yeah.
sell it along with the house?
Right. You can package them and sell them in the house as well. Or separate. Or separate, right. So once the this whole enterprise is set up for a 25-year lifespan.
What happens after that 25 years?
Yeah, so there, it's a question of, you folks have the power to vote to continue, keep going forward with the LLC. The solar is not just going to die. So it just keep producing electricity, albeit at a reduced rate. So you can keep going forward with it.
But the solar technology changes quite a bit.
It's a great
Yeah.
point, and I think
That's changed.
it's a tremendous opportunity potentially for the people that are participating in this project to discuss potentially revamping the project, updating the project, expanding capacity to welcome more people into the project. It offers a lot of potential, and as you attest to, technology is changing at a regular rate in this industry. In the early 2000s, your average module was about 280 watts. Right now, 400-watt modules are being manufactured in 2020, 410. In 25 years, who knows, there could be 600-watt modules, 700-watt modules.
But in 5 years, if someone were to buy into this, technology will also have gone forward. So what happens to whatever people who want to buy into this?
The modules that
So
we're purchasing.
right now, yeah, so here's the thing, this also answers another question that someone else had. When will we build this project? Okay, we're not going to build it unless we're pretty sure it's going to be fully subscribed. And Hogan has a list of roughly 80 odd people or so,
It's almost 100 now.
maybe 100 people or so who are interested in it. And if you add it all up, it's about 700 or 800 kilowatts.
It exceeds
So,
what.
yeah,
what
so
we're-
it's much more beyond what we have. So, A, it's unlikely that we'll go forward without completing it. And B, just like with the South Shore Community Solar, there won't be any more kilowatts to buy in the future. Right? It'll be a closed group. Everybody has shares in it, and so there won't be any extras to buy. The third point, what you're saying was that what if technology changes? Look, I mean, technology is always changing, and that's a normal, right? You know, we know that, let's say if you have an iPhone, you can always wait to get the iPhone 15, unless you want an iPhone now, right? You can always get you can always wait to get a more powerful laptop 5 years from now, right? Unless you want one now. So I think that's where you have to look at it. There's an opportunity cost of not acting now. Leave aside the cost of not acting at all, which is climate change, right? So that's how you want to look at it.
First of all, how close have your projections been? I know everybody probably provided you with, a couple of their bills and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure how long you've been in this business, but if you look back and you looked at your projections and product usage, have they been accurate, or somebody all of a sudden had a spike in their usage, and all of a sudden, their capital investment is a little bit short of what you thought it was good, or what it had to be?
Yeah, so, a couple of things here. One is when we design systems, we design them with 25 years of solar radiation data at a particular location. So we have algorithms and tools that allow us to, look back 25 years and build what's called a typical meteorological year for that site. So we build based on that. And just like, as you said, past, is not a projection.
Not a guarantee of future returns.
So, you can you have cloudier days ahead? Can you have, situation where there's a, more dimming or more, precipitation and so forth? Yeah, it's possible. But, given that we've been in business for 12 years or so, and we haven't really had anybody come back and say, hey, you said it's going to produce this much, but actually our production is lower.
Right.
This has not happened. And in fact, the solar industry, solar modules, famously conservative in how they predict degradation rates on the solar panels. They say solar panels degrade about 0.7% a year for 25 years. That's the warranty. It's much less than that.
Is it just UV degradation, or is it just?
It's like your car tires.
Just wear and tear?
Yeah, there's a bunch of things. The non-reflective film on top of the panel should wear off. The glass itself could develop micro fractures and so forth. Yes, sir.
If you have a business and it's in one location and it uses power, and you buy into this, but that business has several locations on different meters, can your shares be used to pay that?
That's the beauty of group net metering. I think Hogan was pointing out. This is how people living in various places can participate in community solar. The other entities, what you do is you just provide the utility accounts for each of those different businesses. We enter them into the list that we provide to Green Mountain Power, and GMP would allocate the output relative to the share size that you bought for each of those accounts into those accounts.
Sir.
Run the math for me here. I'm having a very difficult time understanding how you come up with share size, member cost, etc. So help me understand the math, if you will.
I can jump in here a little bit. Let's say that, and people don't think in terms of kilowatt hours a year, but maybe a good way to, but let's bear with me a little bit, and if you have more questions, I'll be happy to sit down with your electric bill and show how it all works out. But let's say that your annual energy usage is 10,000 kilowatt hours a year. Now, that equates to $2,100 or so of energy costs, right? And so when you buy solar costing $3.75 a watt, you would need a share size of 8 kilowatts to meet that usage, to meet that energy bill, that $2,100 energy bill. Now your share is going to cost close to $30,000. You subtract out about the $8,000 or so, your net cost is $21,000, right?
I get
So-
the bottom part, I'm
Yeah.
having a hard time understanding
The previous
the
stuff.
upper part.
Okay, so look at it this way. We know, based on many of the work, the past work we've done, let's see, your cost is $2,100, right? Now you're paying about 19 cents a kilowatt hour towards your solar on a 10-year average basis. And then you get 3 cents a kilowatt hour of solar credit. So that's 22. When you do solar, so let's take a step back, I'll jump in a little bit quickly. You're buying electricity at 19 cents, but when you do solar, you actually get 3 cents extra for every kilowatt hour of solar that's generated. That's a solar credit that's provided as an incentive by the state. So now you have an electric bill of $2,100 a year, and you get 22 cents a kilowatt hour for solar. You divide the $2,100 by the 22 cents, it gives you a number that tells you how many kilowatt hours the solar would have to generate. Now, we know by past experience, and that's the 25 years of solar radiation data we're talking about, that that particular system would produce 1,100 kilowatt hours for every kilowatt hour of solar. I know this is getting a little tricky to follow.
11 to 1, I'm with you so far.
I don't understand, I
Okay.
still don't understand
So-
the math you're saying.
Okay, maybe, that's because we dropped out about 4 rows over there. We tried to make it simpler, now it's just made it more complicated. But, okay, so you're following, right? You have a $2,100 electric bill. The solar provides revenue at 22 cents a kilowatt hour. So that means you can figure out how many kilowatt hours it has to produce to get you the $2,100. Now, based on the kilowatt hours it has to produce, we know how big a share you would need to get that many kilowatt hours. As it turns out, in this particular example, you need an 80 kilowatt share. Because of that we know thing that I said, which is we know, based on past experience, that 1 kilowatt of solar would give you 1,100 kilowatt hours per year. So using that as the factor there, we were able to figure out that 8 kilowatt solar share. And that's going to cost you $29,000. You subtract out the 7,600, gets you 21,700. So that's your initial outlay, 21,700. It's saving you $2,100 a year. Your net outlay is 21,700. So your payback is 10 years. So that's how you get there.
And just in case, we just moved to Vermont, so I said we're doing some construction.
Yep.
I think I put even in my email back to you that, we're gonna probably add a couple of air conditioning units. So are you able to tell, let's just say, my investment is really not coming up to par what your projections were?
Mhm.
Do you then adjust me? Let's just say I had a 15,000 capital investment, and all of a sudden you're saying, wow, you're using more electricity than, or you added stuff on. Do you come back to then us as shareholders and say, hey, your share's a little out of whack?
No, you don't.
You don't?
No,
Okay.
and the reason for that is everybody's electric use changes.
Okay.
We are basing this based on your past electric use.
Okay.
And if you tell us that you're going to install heat pumps or,
Right.
buy electric, put in a heat pump water heater, we can figure that into your initial share size that you buy.
Okay.
And we can tell you that your electric usage may end up being this, and therefore that this might match your usage. But do we know for a fact? No, we don't. Your usage may change. You may not live there. Your occupancy may change.
Right.
The weather may change. It may be a very hot summer, in which case the heat pumps will run a lot longer. So, but ultimately the point is whatever share size that you buy, however, kilowatt hours that may generate, that revenue will be ending up in your account. Your usage may vary, but that revenue is predictable. I wouldn't say it's guaranteed, but it's predictable.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So if I understand this correctly, in
Yeah.
terms of how your initial investment is being managed for the long-term profit of the 36,448, if I used more electricity than what our agreed numbers came to for my historical use, because I added more stuff like air conditioning,
Yep.
then I would get a bigger portion of my bill to Green Mountain Power. I'd have to pay directly.
Yes, that's exactly right. So,
And if I-
you know, what
if
you're
I-
doing is this solar is a revenue source that's ending up in your utility bill, right? How you use electricity is up to
Right.
you, you know, that could change all through.
But the opposite side of that is if all my kids moved out of the house,
Mhm.
I bought more efficient stuff,
Yeah.
I'm using less electricity,
Yeah.
the power company would be banking my credits.
What you want to do in that situation is you have this big, let's say that, you know, you bought let's say you bought 8 kilowatts and you reduced to 4 kilowatts, right? So it turns out that you know, they don't really give you a credit for any excess.
So you could sell
So you
some
have to sell it-
shares.
You have to sell it back within the community.
Oh, okay.
You have this LLC,
Okay.
you know, and in South Shore Community Solar, they're already doing it, you know? It's been 2 years and there've been about 4 or 5 trades. People have sold their kilowatts to others in the LLC, so you can do that.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not related to cash through the power company. I could sell my shares to try to keep myself to my historic average, not to pay an electric bill.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I understand, thank you.
And some people have donated their shares to some organization, like a charitable donation, that claimed a charitable deduction as
Oh,
part of their
okay.
tax returns. So they keep it, but they assign a certain amount of credit to Bennington Museum or some other not-for-profit.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it. If you are donating, if you want to support nonprofits in this area, you can donate the shares and get tax deductions as well.
Can I just ask one, a repeat question? If you sell your house, can those people that buy it kind of get bought into? You sell it to give them, you know, and you kind of amortize how much you're gonna sell the
Right,
house
right,
for based
right.
on that.
Yeah.
But you can say to them, if you keep with this and you help me pay my loan off or whatever, you're gonna get this in 10 years.
Yeah, so you can roll this into the purchase cost of the home. There is one caveat, any new member would have to be voted in by the LLC. So that's part of the operating agreement that allows us to.
I get it, so the new member would be that. If you move, and now to a smaller, obviously smaller place, don't need so much, but if you move, can the credits go with you?
Yes, provided you're in the Green Mountain Power Service territory.
I got you. Thank you. Because local.
Simple question. When do you realize the federal tax credit benefit?
That's the year after the installation is done. So when you do your taxes for the 2020 tax year and 2021, I think if you're like me on April 14th or so.
Do you currently have a location for this array? Where
Yeah,
is it?
we do. We're really excited, actually. That may be a good segue into the first phase of the Bennington Community Solar Project. John, have you seen this building before? Are you familiar with the east building there? We're really excited to use this historic building as the solar site. It's going to offer us here in the right-hand corner, just to orient yourselves, on the far right side, that's Benmont Avenue. So essentially we're looking at this portion of the building, this one here, and the back there as well. So that will be kind of the first phase of the installation. We're excited about it. You know, it won't be obtrusive in any way as far as visually. There's no shading that we're going to have to really worry about. It's going to give us great production. And we're really excited to use such a beautiful and historic building that's been a part of Bennington for a long, long time. So this is phase one, which is going to roll up to about, what was it, 220 kilowatts in phase one here. And then a part of the second phase will be at the end of Monument Ave extension on the Beal property, Shadowbrook Farm. So they've given us permission to install another 188 kilowatts that'll be a part of this project. And we're really looking forward to breaking ground there after completion of the Vermont mill. And we really hope that this may be a segue. We hope there's going to be a phase 3 and a phase 4 and a phase 5, and, that we'll be able to kind of set a model for communities in this town to help those that wish to participate in solar power. So we're really looking forward to filling these projects and moving on to the next one.
Do you only go to places where you don't have to take down trees and the environment is definitely considered as far as your locations?
So the state of Vermont.
Answer is yes.
Yeah, I thought so. I was just curious.
Yeah, the state of Vermont and Green Mountain Power have identified kind of prime A locations throughout the state for such installations. So we really try to focus on those locations to build our large-scale projects. So this, yes ma'am.
It just occurred to me, you will continue to get bills from Green Mountain Power, and they will have certain non-bypassable
Yes.
fees,
Yeah,
right?
that's a very good point.
Okay, so do you want to explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the quotes and the share sizes that we're quoting to you folks, that's to eliminate your electrical demand or your needs. As you attest to, there are certain factors in your electric bill, if you look closely, that are called non-bypassable charges, and those are essentially service charges, delivery charges, maintenance requirements on Green Mountain Power's behalf. Those cannot be eliminated by solar. It's strictly your electricity usage that can be, but that's roughly 10% of your electric bill, of your overall electric bill, are those non-bypassable charges. So if you have a $100 electric bill usually and you're only paying $10 for those service charges, it's not too bad of a monthly payment.
Yeah, so I think that's an important point, that your entire bill is not going to go away. It's you'll have to continue to pay those $10, $15 a month or so to GMP, to the utility.
Now, how about commercially with the demand rate?
Yeah, so
They
if you
get
have
you
a
that
commercial
demand rate.
entity, so what Hogan was saying is, for residential shareholders, they can eliminate the energy-related charges only. When you have commercial shareholders, there's energy and demand. Community solar, or any solar in fact, can eliminate both energy and demand. We can we have done many installs.
Because I know for a lot
of
of commercial businesses, the Green Mountain Power says, well, you hit this peak
Yes.
1 hour during the month.
15 minutes.
But
15
we
minute
know we
peak.
gotta supply at least that much, so
Yeah.
we're gonna charge you this premium per
Yeah.
kilowatt hour because you hit this certain peak.
Right, yeah. Yeah, there's rate 11 and rate 65 which do that. And we have done these calculations before, and so we have the models done where we can figure out how much your commercial establishment's energy and demand costs are on a monthly basis. Add them all up and figure out how much solar you need to meet them. Yes?
I got a question. I don't know if this relates to it. If you got an electric hot water heater and you only have hot water for a certain amount of time, and then you don't, how is that affected if you're in a program like this and that's controlled by Green Mountain Power?
So, generally speaking, if you have a rental hot water heater from GMP, I would strongly suggest that you, get out of that program and get yourself a heat pump water heater. Heat pump water heaters are extremely efficient in how they use electricity to generate, to give you hot water. They're about 3 times more efficient. And Efficiency Vermont, which is a state entity that provides incentives, they are offering a $600 incentive towards heat pump water heaters. It's a point of sale incentive. When you go to when your plumber goes to FW Web to buy one of those, he can get one, you know, that's when the incentive is applied.
You know, and you raise another good point. I think that you folks may want to think about before potentially pursuing this this project. You know, we often have site visits and things of that nature, and we walk through those questions. You know, what type of hot water heat pump do you use? If you use electric heat, how well insulated is your house, right? These are all measures, weatherization measures, air sealing measures that can help to reduce your overall electricity needs. So by taking those measures initially, we'll be able to shrink down your portion, if you will, of what you may need to offset that. And as Rima mentioned, Efficiency Vermont offers unbelievable incentives and rebates to residential homeowners for weatherization purposes, appliance upgrades, more efficient pool pumps. I mean, they've got a ton of great offers out there.
Yeah, since your lodge got a weatherization incentive of around $2,500 or so.
So does that kind of make sense if you're using electric heat? And you know, we quote you at 10 kilowatts. If you insulate your house appropriately, maybe your share size would be reduced to 5 kilowatts. You know, essentially that's wasteful in the sense that you're losing all that electricity heat if your house isn't properly insulated. So
also, generally speaking, sorry, slight segue. If you're using electric heat, please consider heat pumps. They're about 2.5 times more efficient than electric heat.
You had a question.
I would ask this if John was still here, but there are many of us who are familiar with that section of the building. And I know work has been done on the roof. Do you know if he replaced it or just repaired it? And
so when we went to meet with John, we discussed doing solar on the roof and so forth. But one of the things we have to do is get a structural engineer in to figure out if we can indeed do solar, whether it will support the solar up on it. So we got an engineer in, he went through all the buildings we were going to install solar on and gave us a clean bill of health.
because it did need repair.
Yes,
We know that it
we've
needed
had our
repairs,
heads
and I'm sure
wet.
I've seen people up there repairing it, so I just
Yeah, so
didn't know
yeah,
if
they
it was.
did. John did replace quite a few areas of the roof with magnet roof. Yeah.
And there are certain snow load requirements, obviously architecturally,
Yeah.
that we consider during that evaluation, and you know, the weight that the actual system would produce on it. But
I assumed you'd done something like that.
yeah, it's very timely that he was fixing.
But we
the
know
roof.
the question about others that are familiar with the building may ask us as well,
Mhm.
so it's good just to check.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. This next slide here just gives us a bit of a timeline for the project. We're currently in the phase with the green arrow there. We're trying to really fill this project and get the community excited about it. The letters of intent, I do have copies here on the table if anybody would just like to grab those for the future. I am able to also send those digitally to you through DocuSign. Quick email, you can do a digital signature and email it back to me after we've gone through and provided you with the share size and system cost. We anticipate in April having all the contracts and agreements drafted to be able to present to those participants that wish to partake in the project. I'm using that LOI as kind of your reserve holder or your space holder. I'm prioritizing those customers that have given me the LOIs as far as their place in line for participation in the project. It's not binding in any way, but it'll help me to kind of weed out those that are serious about moving forward with the project.
Who approves, excuse me, who approves that next step? You say approval. Is
Yes.
GMP involved?
GMP.
So
Oh,
here's
absolutely.
so let me just jump in here for a quick second. So the GMP interconnection approval. So what's going on here is that we had already worked with the state and got a certificate of public good to do the solar. Now, because over the past few years there's been this tremendous upsurge of solar all over the state, GMP's distribution network is under a lot of strain.
Right.
The load to generation ratio has reached a point where they have to continually keep updating, upgrading the substations. So it's gotten to a point where here in the Bennington area, GMP has advised us that before you proceed with the project, we need to do some upgrades.
Right.
So that's what we're waiting on. So they'll have to upgrade the substation. So you want to know if they can, so that's one consideration that might, be an imposition on the timeline. So depending on how quickly they can get to it, which they think that they can do by March, we might be able to, proceed or have to hold off until GMP finishes the work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so there's an element of risk there.
There is an element of uncertainty.
That can
Yes.
get political sometimes in this state,
Yes.
what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a political question.
Sure.
This whole thing makes sense and we're totally on board. But coming here tonight, there's one little glitch that I'm not understanding. And I'm too impatient to wait for Mike to explain it to me on the way home in the car. So I understand you've got GMP and then you've got solar. Do they work in tandem? Because I would think that Green Mountain Power wants the money. They don't want, I would think, solar, they don't want solar to take off because they're losing money from it.
Yes, this is a
So
deep.
how do they work in tandem?
Yeah.
Because you still have to pay your little bill, which is fine,
Right.
but how does that relationship work?
Yeah, so, this is a tremendously complex subject, actually. We could be here all night discussing
Oh, okay. Then you don't have
how
to.
GMP works within the state, and in some regards, let me take a step back. GMP is amongst one of the most progressive utilities in the country when it comes to encouraging renewables within the state. And rather than be antagonistic towards solar, they have decided to become partners, to become, a conduit for renewables. That said, GMP has recognized that solar has been, creating an impact on their bottom line. And so they have taken the attitude that they rather control how solar evolves rather than step back and let it evolve by itself. So they are essentially playing on every side of the equation.
So is that in essence why they're still involved in that little 10% of your bill? To have a little bit of control in there?
That's a little part of it. A small, a really small part of it.
They just have the infrastructure to provide it.
Yeah, there is a distribution that has to be maintained, yes.
I don't care about the 10% bill, I'm just curious how it will fit together.
Yeah, there's, so am I, you have figured out this.
They do buy their power.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't generate power so much as the electrical providers in the state purchase it from Quebec.
Yeah, Hydro-Quebec, yes.
Hydro-Quebec, the atomic plant that just closed down.
There's another one in New Hampshire that did mine from.
Right, and so they have a variety of sources of electricity that go into the grid that they pay for. And now they're swapping out one producer of electricity for another producer.
Right. There's also something called ISO New England. It's a bit like the eBay of electricity. And so they have these long-term contracts with Hydro-Quebec and with the nuclear power reactor, but when it comes to riding through the peaks and troughs of peaks of electric usage in the summer months, they are buying power on the spot market. And that's very expensive. That could be, that could set a tremendous, that could have a tremendous impact on the bottom line. Fortunately, what they say, they take the position that it's somewhat cheaper to deploy solar and lose a bit of revenue at that end, while making sure that there is that incentives are able to do so, rather than fight it and have to buy expensive power on the spot market. Sure.
Now that I know where this array is going to be, I'm wondering how it's not like it's on ground. It's on 18th and 19th century building.
Yep.
And that's all structural support underneath all these. So how do they separate our investment in the solar with the need to upkeep the building to support what our investment is sitting on? And if that person were to sell the building and somebody else buys it, would that be transferred into the deed in terms of certain agreements that you have to maintain a certain level of structural integrity when it comes to this whole system?
Right, yeah, I wish John was still here, he stepped away. But yeah, we have a lease with John for the roof. And so it factors all those questions in account.
I hope it's 25 years. right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the lease is recorded in the land records, so that any prospective buyer is on notice that the roof is subject to a lease, and whoever buys it, buys the real estate, buys it subject to the lease and all the lease
And
terms.
the agreement of maintaining.
Whatever the lease
Yeah.
terms are,
And we'll
they
be,
are part of what they acquire when they acquire the real estate.
as far as the maintaining of the building, he's right by that, but as far as the maintaining of the system and the monitoring, as managers, that's something that Power Guru would
No,
handle.
I know that part, but of course, it's not sitting on ground, which means.
Half
very
of it
little.
is, half of it is sitting on.
But the stuff that's up on a building, the buildings have to be maintained.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to understand what that relationship.
That's a fair question, absolutely.
What's the organizational structure, the LLC? Is it a board, or do the shareholders get together and create?
Yeah, so with South Shore Community Solar, there was a board, there is a president, secretary, and a treasurer. I suppose you could do the same here as well. I think potentially the operating agreement spells out the structure, right?
Yeah, well, with a manager managed, there'd be a lot less work involved. It would
Right.
more be oversight.
Right.
And there will be a small board responsible for organizing an annual meeting, electing officers, and then reviewing the financial information to make sure everything is working as planned.
So ideally, all things headed in the right direction, we would like to have the first phase of this installation completed by June, so we can take advantage of the sunny months here in Vermont. I believe that concludes the slide, right? Is that just, oh, now, next steps. Obviously, here's my contact information. A copy, both the front and back of your electric bill would be best. That'll help give me a good annual snapshot of your energy consumption. I'll then provide you with electric bill analysis, the share size, and the cost, and the letter of intent as well. So I'd be happy to take care of that for you folks. On the right is just an image of the letter of intent. As I said, we do have some over there as well to kind of move forward.
Okay, is this available, this your PowerPoint presentation is available to us? Can it be sent to us?
Yeah.
Nobody's writing a couple of notes here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be, if you leave your contact information, I'd be happy to send that along. I anticipate too that we'll have it on our website as well. This is being filmed also, so that'll be on the website, on our social media platforms, things of that nature.
Can I just clarify something? When you're going to look at documents for the LLC, you're not shareholders. Shareholders own shares of
right.
stock
Thank
in a
you.
corporation.
Thank
You're
you.
going to be called members,
Yeah.
and you're going to have a percentage interest. It's the same concepts, just different words, and I want to make sure we use the right words, so when you see the documents, you'll understand, oh, I'm a member,
Distinction.
and I have a percentage interest.
Thank you for that clarification. Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
mistake.
that's good.
Are there any other questions, concerns?
How many other operations do you have around here?
We did South Shore Community Solar in 2016, extended that in 2018. So that's our first community solar. And we have done a few more which could be considered community solar, like the 100 kilowatt over at we have North Bennington variety. That one is a group net metered system which meets the needs of the NBV store, McCullough Public Library, and a couple of other entities.
Don't forget St. Peter's Municipal
Oh,
Church
yeah, yeah,
as well.
sorry, yeah.
That was
So we
another
had St.
installation.
Peter's, and plus we also did UU. That's also sort of anything, where you have multiple entities, we can something consider.
We've even had customers consider a micro community solar project for the members of, or their neighbors on their road. You know, I was speaking with a woman that had a large expansive field, and she had 4 or 5 neighbors on her road that would be interested in participating in a mini community solar concept. So the idea of community group or group net metering is, we're fortunate in Vermont to be able to do that, to be able to distribute the electricity across the grid.
Are there other, maybe you answered this, are there other states that do the same thing?
Yeah, there are.
And
So this
what's
whole thing
their-
really, yeah. The community solar concept is a good point. It was actually started in, it's a question of exactly where it starts. Some people think it's Colorado, I think it's Vermont, but yeah, it started about 7 or 8 years ago. And ever since then, it's sort of mushroomed. There's many states now that are doing it.
And are they finding, what's the general?
So there's various models you can do community solar in. This model is particular to Vermont, where you have, it's more community-based. The word community, is title, has a title meaning over here. You can do community solar in other states where there is an owner-operator who sells you power. And you really don't have a community concept there. You have a bunch of folks who are buying power from the community solar. So it's a different way of doing this thing.
In my opinion, it is kind of the future of the solar market. The drips in the bucket of your residential home, one at a time, if you will. To be honest, about 70% of roofs are unsuitable for solar in the state of Vermont. So the concept of community solar opens up the door for those people that may not be able to participate in the solar installation.
Just a question about this one particular project, which is on a building, which is kind of unique, I assume. I mean, as a community project on that large degree. It would be awful to think, but our equipment would be on a roof of a building that is susceptible to fire, perhaps. Who carries the extra cost of the possibility of a catastrophic loss of all of our equipment? Who carries that liability?
So there's a couple of things. There's property damage insurance and there's liability insurance that you'll be paying.
Are we as members paying for that?
Right, yeah.
Specific to this particular?
Yep. That's covered, that's covered.
That's all the capital costs.
Okay.
Yeah, I can, should I bring the slide back?
Sorry.
Sure.
Natural disaster in this case, where they don't offer insurance, is that just the way it goes with any installation?
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
With any, whether it's on the ground or on the roof?
Yeah. There are other ways the equipment failures, and it's not really a natural disaster, but if any equipment fails, that's covered in warranty.
That's gonna happen.
No.
It can happen.
The one thing I can add about that building, because I worked there for a long, long time, as long as the roofs are maintained and the sprinkler system is maintained, that entire building is sprinkled. So that, it's not to say it can't happen, but it does give a better.
Have you had any failures, just?
And we have a lot of water.
Blackouts, we've had a failure where somehow your system's not working.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we kick over and then we're on Green Mountains, I guess,
Yeah,
sticker
so-
at that point until you guys get up and running and
Right.
how do you, are we compensated in any way? Because now we're paying a premium, where we've already made this capital investment. And I don't know, let's just say you're out for a month, extreme.
Yeah.
How is that, how are we compensated or how is that equalized then?
Right, so because we've been monitoring the system, we know if there's any failures that have happened, and we generally respond to that. So go ahead.
One other question, is this system,
Yes, go ahead.
is this system the more modern system designed so that the weakest panel isn't the weakest link in the whole system in terms of how the power is being
Yeah,
produced?
right. When we do roof mounts, generally what we do is we install what are called optimizers behind each of the panels. And you made a very astute point. In the past, what you would have done is strung, daisy chained all the panels together and tied them to the inverter. In that situation, if any one panel fails, that can take out the entire chain. When we have these optimizers, if any one panel fails, only that panel is taken out of the equation. The rest of them can be produced.
I figured that's more the standard today, but
It has,
one wants to know because that can make a big difference in what we are producing.
And the rationale for that, there's a few different reasons why it's a good idea. It's evolved to a point where the National Electrical Code now requires that equipment be de-energized at the module level. So, it's not like we have a choice anymore. We really have to install this equipment to cut power out. But what they've done is, they said, okay, well, as long as you're doing it, why not optimize its production as well? So it's not that difficult to, put in some software and some, chips there to make sure the panels are producing at their peak at all times.
I'm sorry, I don't want.
No, keep them coming.
But we have a Tesla battery that we got through Green Mountain as our backup.
Wonderful.
What happens if you have a Tesla battery at Green Mountain and you go into this, that still operates and.
Yeah, so those are completely independent things.
Okay.
The batteries at your home, this is community solar that is being fed straight into the grid. And GMP knows how much is being produced and just allocates the revenue into your utility accounts.
Okay.
So that's, it's a.
Because, like you were saying, I have my little app where I watch what's going on
Right.
when it's backing up and that sort of thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, this won't allow you to back up your Tesla when power goes up.
So just
It
like.
won't, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
It won't currently.
right.
So it will
Or even ever.
So what we've already paid for our Tesla battery, the Green Mountain would not,
Not gonna buy it.
I mean, it's not gonna
You're
work.
you're gonna
No,
still.
You still have
It'll be
a
backed
power
up.
law.
Purchase it from them.
You have whatever's in the power law to guide you through an outage, right?
Yeah.
That's 24 hours.
You won't be able to charge your battery with the solar installation.
So we would get that from Green Mountain.
Right.
Yeah, Green Mountain would keep your battery topped off and it would last as long as it did. If
Right.
you had an extended week of an outage, eventually you would be out of
Yeah.
power, but you would
So
be
just
able
like
to
with any
use your
generator,
device that you
propane,
paid for.
something like that.
Right.
It wouldn't be.
Yes, sir.
Say, you look at our energy needs and we need 20 shares to meet our demand,
Yeah.
and that'd be like $40,000, and we only want to really invest $20,000. Can you just buy $20,000?
Yeah, exactly, and you can buy the rest from GMP.
Yeah, if you just wanted to offset 50% of it, that's not a problem at all. And on the commercial level too, you will actually receive both a federal and a state tax credit along with some expedient depreciations. So your return on investment could potentially be even quicker.
So if you're a corporation, it's better to buy it as a corporation.
Yeah, so it's better if you're, there's a little subtlety here, and there always is. In the state of Vermont, if you're an S corp or a sole owner LLC or a disregarded entity, then you are eligible for the state tax credit, which is about 6% or so. So in addition to 26%, you get the state tax credit as well. And regardless of the kind of entity you are, you can still get depreciation benefits, accelerated depreciation benefits and modified accelerated depreciation benefits. So when you factor all those in, the payback with a corporation is much better than a payback as a customer,
Yeah, that kind of concludes it. If there aren't any other questions, we appreciate you folks taking the time to come.
Thank you. Thank you.